Namaste yogis, welcome back to an hour of yin and yang. My name is Sesa, this is Devin, she'll be demonstrating for us today. So let's just go ahead and work our way to getting started. We'll start in child's pose. So if you want to sit towards the back of your mat on the tops of the feet and the shins, big toes touch, the knees can touch as well unless you prefer to open them a comfortable distance apart. Arms extend forward or down the sides of your body. And just starting by closing the eyes, getting past any fidgeting or movement, working our way into the present. But also understanding that that too in itself is a practice. That over the course of the next 60 minutes, I can pretty much guarantee that at some point or another, your mind is going to wander or jump off topic. Run away from whatever it is that you're currently facing inside of you. I oftentimes refer or compare the practice of becoming present to that of cleaning house. If you've ever gone to wipe a super dusty surface, what you'll tend to find is that oftentimes dust particles actually flip up into the air. And over time, they begin to settle. And with every stroke of the cloth, that surface eventually becomes clearer and clearer. And so our practice is very much like that. And the surface is the mind. The dust and particles are the wandering, fluttering thoughts. And it is our breath that is that cloth that will help keep us coming back into the here and now. So let's begin by letting go of a nice long exhale. And then take a deep inhale through your nose, send that breath to the hook of your tailbone, feel your ribs expand out horizontally. And then open up your mouth. Let's take another long, slow, deep inhale through the nose, filling from the bottom to the top. And then open up the mouth and just audibly let it go. One more deep inhale through the nose, maybe even holding that breath at the top. Unless you're pregnant, you always want to keep breathing. And then keeping the lips gently sealed, go ahead and slowly exhale out the nose. And then just breathe in and out your nose. Finding that balanced breath. And just remembering that this, for the next 60 minutes, can suffice. If you have something like Ujjayi Pranayama or a little bit more of an advanced breathing technique, feel free to tap into it. But mainly just remembering that the breath is that one thing that will constantly be pulling you back. The one thing that will begin to kind of wipe the clutter from the mind. So as you're ready, with an inhale, we'll extend the arms long to the front of the mat. Open your hands up, shoulders distance apart. Spread your fingers nice and wide. Take a deep inhale. And as you exhale, downward dog. We'll lift the hips, tuck the toes, press the heels towards the earth. So feel free to pedal out your feet, come up and down on the toes a few times. Do whatever you need to do to get ready to settle. Maybe look at the hands, be sure they did land jetting straight out from the shoulders. Ideally, it's your index and middle fingers that point straight forward. So it looks like there's a slight turn out of the hands, but if you're sensitive and the wrists are super tight in your shoulders, you can turn the hands a little further out. But as you relax your head and neck, I just want you to look back at your feet and let them rest hips distance apart. Make your heels spin back and just slightly out so they disappear behind the toes. And even if you have to bend the knees a lot, I want you to think of lifting the hip creases straight up towards the sky, knitting the front ribs and even sternum bone in so you don't just dump into the lower back. Your goal is to accentuate the natural curves and convexes of the spine. Keep the height of the hips lifting and then begin to play with pushing the tops of your thighs straight back to begin anchoring the heels down. Now push so much into the palms of your hands that it's almost like a suction cup. The outer edges of your palms root down as the inner center maybe slightly domes. All the knuckles of your fingers press evenly into the earth. The shoulder blades hug to the outer ribs, your triceps wrap back, the forearms lift. And then with an inhale, we will come forward, high plank or top of a push-up, just lowering your hips in line with the shoulders. Drive your heels back, firm your thigh bones up towards the ceiling against the weight of your hips getting heavy, but keep them level with your shoulder blades, even if you have to drop to the knees. And then tucking your tailbone in just enough that you can pull the belly to the spine. Press down so much into your hands that the natural reaction is your chest and your head actually lift away from the ground. Once you feel that little jump, glue your shoulder blades down the back so you're not doming or catting in the upper spine. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, downward dog. Lift your hips up and back. Now let's inhale, come forward, high plank. And exhale, downward dog, lift your hips. Inhale, roll forward like a wave. And exhale, pulling back. Now let's inhale the right leg to the sky. As you exhale, pull the knee down and over to your left elbow, finding a little bit of a twist as they land at your wrists. Inhale, stretch the leg high. Exhale, knee to your right elbow, tricep or even outer shoulder. Inhale, stretch it back. And exhale, knee to the left. And then inhale, kick it back. And exhale to the right. So we just go like this on your own breath per movement. Side to side, left to right, right to left. And then with an inhale, we'll extend the leg back. Keep that leg hovering as you drift forward to a high plank. Kick the right heel back, lengthen the crown of the head forward. Lean forward, and as slow as you can, bend the elbows. We're going to go all the way to the mat. Rest the tops of both feet down. Inhale, peel your head, your chest up off the mat. Drag the skin of your elbows straight back. Hug the front ribs in. Press evenly into the hips, the pubic bone, and the tops of your feet. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, chin to the mat. Tuck your toes. Drive your heels back, firming the thighs up. Tuck your tailbone in, pull the belly in, and then with an inhale, push up, high plank, and pause. Lift your right foot up off the ground. Exhale, pull the knee to your chest. Keep looking forward so you can step forward, right foot next to the right thumb. Plant your left hand where it is. We're going to inhale that right arm up to the sky, taking our first twist. So left heel pushes straight back behind your big toe. Left thigh bone lifts up towards the ceiling through the edge of your pants. As you hug your right hip back, I also want you to think of sinking the sit bone forward. You want to feel your calf push into your shin. The knee should stack at the ankle. Whether your left hand is flat on the floor, or maybe you cup the earth with all 5 fingertips like a teepee, roll your left shoulder blade down the back. And then sandwich the left ribs forward into that, giving the spine the space to lean back maybe a little bit more. Take an inhale. Exhale, right hand to the mat. Pause. Let's lift the back leg up to the sky. Vertical splits. Relax the head and neck. Flex your back heel square off the hips, so wrap the outer left hip down. And as you pull your belly in, think of pushing that right thigh back as you stamp all the weight into the right foot. Hands and arms can be really however you need them at this point, but breathe. Now I want you to crawl your hands forward about 6 inches in front of your foot and think flat back halfway up. Pull your belly in, and you're going to begin to bend your left heel to the butt and actually begin to lift your left heel up towards the ceiling. Lift the roll the left hip up towards the ceiling. So kind of like we do in our three-legged dog, but we're using the core to help support the spine. So we're not putting too much pressure there. And really, if you think about it, that external rotation is coming from your standing leg. Breathe. Now keep your left hip where it is, slowly kick your left leg back. Keep that leg active, bend your standing leg deeply, and then very gently float your left foot back, warrior two will come up. So line up the feet, your front heel with the center of the back arch or back heel. Back toes turn slightly forward, at least 10 degrees up in front of your heel. Inner left thigh is wrapping back as your inner right thigh draws forward. Tailbone draws under as you pull the lower belly in and up. Now your hands, you want to float them just above your shoulders, but at the same time, imagine I was actually pushing them down, and you resist that by turning on your serratus, hugging the shoulder blades down the back and to the outer ribs. Karate chop them back without letting them go back, you just pull them further apart. Focusing over your front hand, let's flip the right palm up, inhale, reach it up, reverse warrior. Keep your back hand light, but most definitely away from your knee. Top arm as straight as can be. Backward doesn't necessarily need to happen. As long as you let the right thigh go forward and you lift the right hip up, the extension back will begin to happen, and you'll find a nice stretch in that right side body. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, cartwheel your hands to the mat, step your right foot back, chaturanga or push-up. Inhale, continue, cobra, maybe up dog if you're feeling ready for that. And then exhale, roll over the toes, lift the hips, downward dog. From downward dog, we will inhale the left leg to the sky. Flexing to the heel, squaring off the hip. Exhale, pull the knee down and over to the right elbow for a sweet twist, shoulders land at the wrists. Inhale, lift the leg high, and exhale to the left. Inhale, stretch it up and back, and exhale to the right. You know what's coming, right to left to right, following your breath. Make sure the upper body lands in high plank so the arms stay straight, the shoulders always stack with the wrists, the belly pulls to the spine. You're breathing. And then with an inhale, we'll kick the leg back, flex the foot, keep that foot flexing back, drift forward, three-legged plank. Leaning forward, as slow and controlled as you can, exhale, go all the way to the mat. Once the forehead rests, put the tops of your feet down, inhale, cobra, stick with that, press the hips down, maybe begin to lift the glance up. And then exhale, chest and chin to the mat, tuck your toes. Drive your heels back, firm your thighs, pull the belly in, and then inhale, push up, high plank. Pause, lift the left foot up. Exhale, pull the knee to your chest, keep looking forward to step forward next to your left thumb. Right palm plants, so you're up on all 5 fingertips, reach your left arm up towards the sky. So we want that right heel to be pushing to the middle of the femur bone, and that's a hard thing for us a lot of the time to gauge. So if you push it behind your big and second toe, it will line up, giving you this nice, long, strong line. And as your right thigh lifts, remember the left hip does hook in, but then you're sinking that sit bone forward as if the inner thighs were working away from each other. Right shoulder blade rolls down the back, right side ribs lengthen forward, and then they lean towards your inner left thigh. Maybe you look up, take a deep inhale. Exhale, left hand down, back leg lifts, vertical splits at the front of the mat. Flex your heel. Look back at the toes. It's a great way to know if you are rolling the right hip open to start. You want to kind of spin the inner thigh towards the ceiling, wrapping the outer right hip down. Hugging the left hip back. We have this tendency to sink into the standing hip socket. Breathe. And then just crawling your hands forward about 6 inches in front of your toes. Think flat back so you can pull the belly in. Now bend your right knee, think heel to butt. Lift the right hip and knee towards the ceiling. Think that three-legged dog shape we take a lot. Hug the left hip in. So that engagement of the left glutes is actually allowing your inner left thigh to open. Now keep that right hip lifting, kick your foot back. Notice how your toes should actually wrap slightly down towards the mat. There we go. And then bend the standing leg deeply and gently float to warrior two. Right foot down, arms pull up. Beautiful. Heel to heel or heel to arch. Find that preference, what gives you the most space. Back toes turning slightly forward, anchoring your back leg as your front leg continues to open up. Tailbone draws down as the rest of your spine lifts. And remember the trick with the arms, they're actively going in every single direction. Now as you focus over your front hand, check in with your breath before you go anywhere. And then flipping the left palm up, inhale, reach it up, reverse warrior. Keep the back hand light, pull the belly to the spine. With that top arm straight, I want you to think of jumping your left hip off your thigh. So it's literally the lift of the pelvis, tucking your tailbone forward. And because our spine connects with the sacrum, that's when the spine will begin to arch back. Take an inhale. Exhale, cartwheel your hands down. Step back, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, we will inhale, bend the knees, draw your hips back, look forward. Exhale, take a giant step walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back, lengthen the spine. Exhale, fold in. Now the same flat back, inhale, Tadasana. Circle your arms up, look up, maybe watch your palms kiss. Exhale, pull the hands through heart center, Samasthiti. Inhale, arms fall before they rise. Exhale, forward fold, lead with your heart. Inhale, glance up. Exhale, plant the hands, step or jump back, chaturanga. Inhale, urdhva mukha or upward facing. Exhale, adho mukha, downward facing. Now, downward dog is not so much a resting place. If you've ever been told downward dog is a resting place, you were lied to. But it is a check-in point. Notice how the body's feeling. Notice the state of the mind. Check in with your breath. And then with an inhale, we'll bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or spring to the front of the mat. Inhale, glance out. Exhale, fold in. Inhale, reverse swan dive your arms to the sky. And exhale, pull the hands to heart center. Inhale, circle the arms for the sun. Exhale, bow forward towards the earth. Inhale, glancing out. Exhale, chaturanga. Take all the time you need. Inhale will bring the back bend, and exhale guides downward dog. Remember, it's a checkpoint. It is very active. Generally, it is not very easy to sit here much longer than 5 breaths, or else the mind begins to freak out. So if you're ready, we will inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or float to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, Tadasana, find the peak of the mountain. And exhale, Samasthiti, prayer in front of your heart. Do this last one on your own, just breath per movement. Don't rush it. Try not to look at the screen while doing it. Just close your eyes and follow your breath. Add things in, take things out. If you forget something, go past it. We will meet in downward dog. From downward dog, let's just take a nice deep inhale through the nose, holding this breath at the very top. And then open up your mouth. One more deep inhale through the nose to hold. This time sticking out the tongue, lion's breath. And then just go back to breathing in and out your nose. And then with an inhale, we'll bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or float to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold in. So big toes touch, heels separate just a little bit. Inhale, Utkatasana, chair pose. We'll run through an eclectic sun bee. If you're familiar with me, you know that they're more fun. At least that's what I like to tell myself. Drop the shoulders, softening the trapezius as you lift the arms out of your waist. Make your hips heavy by making the thighs heavy. And then sinking a little lower. Inhale, press up, grow taller. And exhale, hands to heart center. So inhale, drop back down into chair. Hips go low, arms reach up. Now go ahead and pull your hands to heart center just to give the arms a rest. Shift the weight into your right foot. You're just going to lift the left knee into your chest. Pulling the belly to the spine. Now while you stand here, I want you to envision warrior three. Take an inhale, and then as you exhale, kick your left leg back as you lean your torso out. Press your right thigh back to work your leg towards straight, but don't shove the knee back. Square off your left hip, pull the belly into the spine. We usually need to think of lifting the left heel higher than we think. Shoulders draw down the back. You could reach your arms back, palms face the earth. I think this actually makes it easier. If you want to extend the arms forward, be my guest, but breathe. And then bending your standing leg deeply, as gently as you can, step your left foot back, reach to the sky, crescent pose. Landing on those back toes, bending the back knee so you can tuck your tailbone down, lift the front of your hips up. Draw the inner thighs away from each other, but at the same time, you want to simultaneously get this feeling as if you were sliding your feet a little closer together. Front ribs hug in and down. As the backwards lift, the spine grows longer, the arms should too. Take an inhale. Exhale, pull the hands to heart center, lean out, pull the belly tight and twist. Left elbow to the outside of that right knee. Drive the left heel back, lift the left thigh bone up. Same thing, right hip hugs in to create space, but then draw it forward, make that right sit bone heavy. Stacking through the elbows, pressing through the palms. Maybe you open your arms, you can find a half bind. If your body allows it, a full bind, but please breathe as deeply as you can. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, hands down. Step back, chaturanga, lower slow. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or spring to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, fold in. Inhale, Utkatasana, drop it low, reach up. Inhale, press up all the way to standing. Exhale, hands to heart center. Inhale, straight back into chair. Finding your shape, you'll pull the hands to heart center. Keep the chest lifting, shift the weight into your left foot and bring the right knee towards your chest. Try to keep that left knee as deeply bent for now as you can. Breathe. Find a focal point. Obviously, that's something that's going to help you balance. Take an inhale. Exhale, just kick your right leg back, lean your torso out. Try to create the capital T, so push your left thigh back. Wrap the outer right hip down. If I were to come around and put a water bottle on your hips, it should stay put. Hands can stay where they are. They might reach back. They might reach forward. But think of lifting your right heel to the back of your head a little higher. Then bending your standing leg pretty deeply. Step your right foot back, land on the toes, reach up. Anjali Asana. And we bend the back knee so we can neutralize the pelvis, keeping the spine safe. Lower belly pulls in, inner thighs, think side splits or Hanuman Asana. And you hear drop the shoulders a lot, but we're not talking about the scapula. Anytime we lift our arms up, the scapula by nature have to lift. So we're talking about the tops of muscles, the trapezius that run across the base of your neck. Try to let them drop down. Now pull your hands to heart center, lean your chest halfway forward, pull your belly in and twist. Right elbow to the outside of the left knee, right heel pushes back, right thigh bone lifts up. Elbows stack, palms press. The spine should be long. And if the spine is long, then maybe you open your arms. You take a half bind. Breathe into the space you're creating, but more importantly, also breathe into the space that is resisting. Take a deep inhale. Exhale, gently drop your hands to the mat. Step back, chaturanga, lower slow. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. So now that we got that out of the way, let's inhale, bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, walk or jump to the front of the mat. Inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold in. Now inhale, Tadasana. Just circle your arms up with a long spine. And exhale, pull the hands to heart center. Now shifting the weight into your right foot, you're going to lift your left knee towards your chest, flexing the foot. Your leg should create a 90-degree angle. And then just take your hands and actually grab onto your pelvis. So you are going to keep the left leg shooting straight out from the hip. And the opening is actually going to begin to come from your right leg. So give a little bend to your right knee just to give it some buoyancy. And then use your hands to manually turn your pelvis to the left without letting that inner right thigh open up. And then use the hands to steer it back to center. And then use the hands opening it up, hugging that outer right hip in, and then bring it back. Now open your arms up, palms face forward, so you don't have the aid of your hands, but same thing, steer the pelvis to your left. So that with the pelvis moving, your torso begins to rotate open as well. Now keep that. You're going to release your right hand 6 inches in front of your right foot as you kick your left leg back, half moon. Oh. Hug that right hip in. Spin your inner left thigh down to the mat without letting your left hip drop down. That stays lifting up. Straight line to the arms, open up, create space not only in the collarbones, but also between your shoulder blades. Now bend your standing leg, just like we did, warrior 2, float back. And then straight into it, reverse warrior, flip the right palm up, reach up, look up. Take an inhale. Exhale, try to bring your right hand to the outer edge of that right foot, cupping the earth with the fingertips. If you have a block, a water bottle handy, use that, but push your right knee into that bicep, the bicep into the knee. Hug that right hip, make it do a U-turn into your body. Ground down to the knife edge of your back foot, take your top arm up and overhead. Palm facing the mat. It's so sticky here today, Devin doesn't even need her foot on the mat. Take an inhale, roll the chest open. And then exhale, left hand down, we'll step back, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. So remember, this is where you check in. Allow yourself to resituate, allow the thoughts of the mind to settle. Breathe a little deeper. And with an inhale, we will bend the knees, look forward. Exhale, find the front of your mat. Inhale, flat back. And exhale, fold in. Inhale, Tadasana, push down to reach up. Exhale, pull the hands through heart center. So shifting the weight into the left foot. This time you lift the right leg up. Flex the foot. Then grab onto your hips with your hands. So remember, the right knee stays straight out from the hip, and you're literally turning the whole pelvis, hugging that left hip in using those glutes, and then turn your hips back so they point forward like headlights. Now you're doing that right hand turn with the hips, and then bring it back. Now reach your arms open, palms face forward. Use that left glute hugging in to turn the pelvis to the right. Look 12 inches in front of you. Gently let your left hand go down as you kick your right leg straight back, half moon. Right heel presses back, crown of the head shoots forward. Little buoyancy in that standing leg. Hug your left knee in. Knit the front ribs in. Pull the belly tight. And then very gently bend your standing leg. And as if you're moving through molasses, think warrior 2. Step the right foot back. Once that foot is situated, flip the left palm up and then reach up, reverse warrior. Create lots of space in that left side body. That's what we need. And then take it with you. Exhale, left hand to the outer edge of your foot on a prop or flat on a surface. Take your top arm up and overhead. Ground down to the knife edge of your back foot. Push your left knee into your arm. Feel that outer left hip really turn on. Wrap your right tricep down, knit the front ribs in, and breathe. Maybe lean back a bit more, take an inhale. Exhale, right hand down. We step back. Chaturanga is your exit. Inhale, cobra or up dog. And exhale, downward dog. From downward dog, let's take a nice deep inhale through the nose. Hold that breath at the very top. Stick out your tongue. One more deep inhale through the nose to hold. Stick out the tongue, roar it out. And then go ahead and just step the right foot in between the hands. Drop the back knee, the top of the foot to the earth, and you might slide that leg back a good 3 inches. Now looking at your front foot, I just want you to walk the pinky toe edge of your right foot to the middle of the mat. So your foot kind of walks to the left a couple inches. Once the pinky toe edge lines up with the middle of your mat, you'll flex the foot and drop your right knee out behind your right arm. Flexing the foot, keep the knees safe. So for most of us, we're going to have to let that right heel slide down underneath towards the pubic bone to get the shin and the knee to the earth. And then from there, you also want to make sure your right hip becomes grounded. So rather than trying to keep your right foot under your hip or under your left chest or armpit, you're wanting to keep your foot more in line with your pubic bone, belly button, or sternum bone. And then if you are feeling ready for it, you can crawl your body forward. For the ladies and even the gentlemen, I think it's super helpful to put a block underneath the chest. That takes out some of the weight which is bearing down on the hip. It also allows the arms and the shoulders to fully soften rather than prop up onto our forearms. Instead, you can actually stack your forearms in front of you and let your forehead rest there. So they call this the sleeping swan in yin. The poses don't change between yin and the power yoga class. The names may. But really, the biggest shift that has to happen is how we approach them. We're trying to approach things gently. Not necessarily going for that deep, intense stretch that you would normally want to feel. Instead, you should feel the discomfort within the hip joint itself, where the femur bone is connecting within the pelvis. You should feel the inner groin releasing, the shoulders softening, unclenching the jaw, unfurrowing your eyebrows. And this is where we really have to work within the practice of pulling ourselves back in. Because the alignment of the pose is pretty much going to be said and done within the first 30, 45 seconds of the pose. And then the rest of the time, we're simply sitting still. And so the mind is going to have much more of an ability to wander. Random thoughts will be concocted, stories created. Maybe it jumps back to planning and predicting the future, or goes back and is worrying about how something Maybe we could change it in our past. So allow these moments in stillness to be really the gift of presence. And within that space, we can then really do the work. Whether that is within the physical body, if you're feeling any physical pain, sharp knife-like stabbing sensations, as if something were pulling or about to snap, come out of it, make that adjustment. Address any emotions that may arise. Whether it is having this urge to cry and noticing how you want to react to it. Do you want to suppress it, hold it back, control it? Try not to do that. Instead, just allow things to flow. And once you can allow that to happen, then we can begin to maybe pinpoint why it's happening. And sometimes not, and that's okay too. For the next 3 or 5 breaths, I want you to try with every exhale to just soften and find a sense of release. And then with your next inhale, we'll go ahead and step up onto the hands, but no rush to do that. Take your time. We'll tuck the back toes. Lifting the back knee up is going to allow you to pull the belly in to help support your way out. Lift the right leg up and back. You might circle the knee around in the air, bringing some fluid back into that hip. You'd shake out the leg, pedal out the feet. Then as you're ready, we will step the left foot in between the hands, dropping the back knee, top of the foot down, and sliding that leg back a bit. Now remember, it's the pinky-toed edge of your left foot that lines up with the dead center of your mat. Flex the foot and just begin to drop the knee out behind your arm and pause for a moment, getting the knee as close to the mat as it can without forcing it down. And just feel how extreme that rotation is and how it feels. And then you can allow that foot to slide down underneath your pubic bone. And for some of us, most of the time, one leg is much more accepting than the other. But as you feel ready, just make sure your left hip does ground down. And then as you feel as it's appropriate, you'll walk your hands out, folding forward. Resting your chest on a block or not if it's appropriate, but most definitely resting your forehead somewhere. And because of how extreme this rotation for the femur bone is in the hip, it's causing a tremendous amount of stress in the hip joint. And that is why it's very important that A, your left shin and knee are touching the ground. They shouldn't be hovering in the air. But also making sure that your left sit bone is grounded as well. Because our body is very intelligent. If we're not ready for what we're doing physically, our body's going to do whatever it needs to protect the hip. So it's going to send that stress and pressure to the next weakest joint, which is the knee. And blown out knees are not fun. So learn to be gentle. Learn to use props. Learn to be okay with using props, right? It doesn't make you any lesser of a yogi. Because in fact, yoga does not care about the flexibility of your hamstrings, or if you can touch your toes, or if you have a 90-degree angle in your pigeon. That's usually a battle that we fight within our own false ego of thinking that we are something we're not. Deep down, you have to understand that we are not even this body. But the practice of asana, or going to the gym, or running on the beach, those are meant to be means by which we keep our vessel healthy. We keep the state of the mind healthy so that we can be of better service. But if we're constantly pushing ourselves physically and mentally, at some point or another, the body and the mind, they're going to need a break, and so they will force you to get still, whether that is through sickness or some sort of disease or some sort of injury that happens out of nowhere. So before we allow it to get to that point, it makes more sense to find the time to do things like this. Do less, get still, reflect, feel, process, experience the emotions that may come up. Remind yourself that it's okay to heal and let go. Oftentimes, as an instructor, it's our job to really kind of create and hold space for people to do their healing. Whether it's yoga instructors, life coaches, therapists, psychologists. But ultimately, we should be teaching you how to create your own space. Teach you how to face that which is confronting. Because ultimately, nobody can heal your body. Nobody can heal the mind. Nobody can get rid of emotions for you. That is something each individual has to do. Remember the last 3 to 5 breaths. Just begin to allow every exhale to make the body heavier. Go ahead and step up onto your hands. Stacking them under the shoulders, tucking your back toes, lifting the back knee, pulling the belly in to take the left leg up and back. Circling out the knee, shaking out the leg, pedaling out the feet. I like to do a little bit of all of that. And then as you're ready, go ahead and drop to the knees. Cross one ankle over the other, sit back behind your feet, bring your legs out in front of you. And scoot forward a bit so you're not so far back on the mat. Bend the knees, grab the backs of your thighs, and we're just going to begin to roll back, vertebrae by vertebrae, until you are flat on the spine. Once you're flat on the back, keep the knees bent, feet flat on the floor. Open your arms to a T or cactus arm. You're going to bring your right ankle to the top of your left knee, so like a reclining pigeon. Keep that as you let your legs fall over to the left. So that right foot should become flat on the floor. Right shoulder should stay in the earth. You might use your left hand to kind of hoax your left or your right knee forward. And for a deeper hip opener, you might try sliding your left knee up towards your left elbow. But don't get in that mindset of more is more, because sometimes it's not, right? But beginning a gentle twist, continuing with that opening of the hip. Find space in the hinges of your jaw. Maybe even run the tongue across the front of your teeth. It also always helps me tend to release that little bit of tension. If you want to look over your right shoulder, you're more than welcome. If it kinks your neck, take your glance back up to the ceiling, but wherever your head is looking, remember, just close your eyes. Now we're going to maintain the twist, but we're going to switch it up in the hips. I want you to just go ahead and slide your right foot underneath the left knee, sandwiching the thighs together. Maybe you lift that right hip up and scoot it, or left hip up and scoot it underneath you a couple inches, getting deeper into the twist. And if your shins do not touch the ground, you just place a block, a bolster, a pillow underneath the shins. You might hook your right toes on the back of your left calf. But when you twist, we're getting this shearing effect of all the ligaments and tendons that run across the ribs, the serratus. Some people even feel this within the right hip. But you want to keep the right shoulder and the right side ribs working towards the mat, being heavy, as your right knee and hip get heavy in the opposite direction. It's like that Indian burn type twist. And then go ahead and slowly slide your left hand underneath the legs and use that left arm to lift the knees up to center. You can untangle the legs, hug them into the chest, recentering your hips. And you will set your feet flat on the floor. Left ankle to the top of your right knee as your arms open up like wings, pushing that left knee forward. Remember, it's that pigeon shape. You're gonna just let both legs fall to your right, trying to get that left foot flat in the floor. And if you need that right hand to kind of hoax your knee forward so it still points up to the ceiling, use that. Whether you take your glance over your left shoulder now or you wait till the next version of the twist is up to you. It may never look over your left shoulder, and that's okay. Especially if you have like fused disc or something that doesn't allow your spine to necessarily find its original movement. So then you're going to just slowly slide that left foot underneath the right knee, sandwiching the thighs together. Maybe lifting the right hip and scooting it underneath you. Maybe the toes hook, maybe not. You could always put a little bit of a prop underneath the legs if they don't touch the ground, just giving them that extra support. And then just letting every exhale do its job. Every inhale creating space, length. Every exhale, a depth and a softness. And remember, acknowledge the mind. Notice what's happening inside of the body. Oftentimes people make the mistake of thinking nothing happens in yin because we're not moving. We're not even going as far as we would normally go. But so much is happening, physically, mentally, and emotionally. So if you're one of those people who maybe feels like you're not getting anything out of it, it actually means that your job is much more difficult. You need to be able to work inward. Spend this time in self-reflection. Confront and face things that maybe you thought you dealt with, but really they were just shoved deep back into the subconscious. So much more work can actually be done in stillness. And continually just trying to push ourselves to the physical limit of the body. So when you're ready, you will slide that right hand underneath the legs. Use the hand to lift the legs up. Untangle the legs. Recenter the hips, hug the knees into the chest, recenter everything. Maybe even bring your forehead up to meet your knees and take one last deep breath in. Hold your breath. Feel the lingering stress, tension come to the surface. And then exhale, release, sprawl open. So just letting your body get heavy. Setting up this Savasana really for however you need it to feel. Take your time, don't rush that. Another common mistake people make is they underestimate the value of Savasana. They think it is the least important because A, we do it last. B, all we are really doing is what? Lying here? But traditionally speaking, Savasana is actually the most important pose. They will spend generally a good 30 to maybe even 60 minutes lying in Savasana, depending on the length of their practice. Here we get 3 to maybe 5 minutes. But this is where your body, from the muscles, the ligaments, the tendons, down to the cellular level, get to reap the benefits of every single pose, every single breath you just took. The mind gets to drop into a place of rest, even withdrawing from your breath. And you, the soul, get to be free. So step aside. Remind yourself, give yourself that permission to let go. So you hear something quite often within a classroom situation as to how what we learn here on the mat is meant to permeate our day-to-day life. That it's not just enough to show up and keep all of the work that you do on the four corners of your mat. When you do that, you are creating a misjustice not only to yourself, but to those around you. Because really, yoga has so much more to offer beyond building the strength of your muscles or developing flexibility through the body. The whole of yoga is meant to impart lifelong lessons, seeping the soul in knowledge and truth. But it is not until we can begin to act on the knowledge and truth that we do receive that we can truly step into being a yogi. For a yogi is someone who practices yoga, and yoga is the practice of unifying or connecting with God. And within that connection, we begin to connect all the other dots within our life. And when we can do that, we and everyone else, all other living entities, are better off for it. So just something to think about, something to work with beyond the rubber mat. But per usual, I will leave you to lay in Savasana for however long you would like, unless you have to get up and go. Do so slowly for your own benefit. Don't rush it. But either way, on that note, namaste.